For Final Fantasy fans, the mobile platform has managed to both be convenient and insulting at the same time. Square Enix is not high on anyone's list for great ports to smartphones, especially with their well-loved RPG series seemingly plagued with controversy over graphical changes, poor optimization, and feature-sparse versions getting shoved onto the mobile marketplace for the sake of a quick cash grab. It's not always a slog through the marsh, though. Original mobile efforts like Final Fantasy Dimensions are actually really good, and FFD remains one of my favorite mobile RPGs of all time. And it's a great entry into the normal Final Fantasy series as well, with its classic ATB system and Final Fantasy V inspired job system. But then there's free-to-play Snorefest All the Bravest, which is an exercise in boredom. Lately, however, Square's original Final Fantasy games on smart devices have been hitting a sort of sweet spot between classic gameplay and those nuances required of mobile gaming. It started with Final Fantasy Record Keeper, a sort of love letter to the series' scenarios and characters, and it features strategy and battles not unlike the ones you'd expect from a classic entry in the series. Then came Brave Exvius with its gorgeous pixel art and gameplay that felt even more like a classic entry in the series. And now, Square Enix has brought the next mobile Final Fantasy to the western parts of the world, one that's headed up by longtime series veterans and touts a sort of polish that most wouldn't associate with smart device gaming. But even with that pedigree, is Mobius Final Fantasy a worthy entry into one of the greatest role-playing game series of all time? Mobius thrusts us into the role of a man transported to the strange land of Palamecia without any memories.
For your past is no more than a light long faded. So, whatever it might be that you think you lost. No. Whatever it might be that you think you had is very little indeed.
He's not alone in this, as other men also appear in Palamecia, only knowing their names, many of them sharing the same one. Add an ominous voice to the mix to explain a few things about the situation and add just enough exposition, and you've got a pretty decently cliché start to the game.
So who among you is our true hero? Sadly, you come here this day as blank slates. Yes, blank indeed. So let us call you just that. You are blanks all.
As one of these blanks, our main character can hear the voice of Vox, who instructs the blanks to head north on their journey to see who among them will become the prophesized Warrior of Light that will save all of Palamecia.
Trust me, I know Vox can be a pain. But whatever he bothers to say is useful, most of the time.
What about the rest of the time?
Complete and utter drivel.
Good to know.
For those of you keeping score at home, we've got a pretty good checklist of cliches running, but do trust me on this, things are going to pick up as we move past the sort of stage-building introduction.
Thanks. I'll keep that in mind.
Mobius Final Fantasy, while aiming to be a console-style experience, is very much in tune with the mobile platform. That means it's the type of game that's very easy to pick up and play for only a few minutes at a time, or for a couple hours if you want to. To navigate Palamecia, you'll move along a board for whichever realm you're exploring. Each time you move, you'll fight a series of monsters and bosses which nets you loot and experience, and expands the board with each new area that you clear. Some paths are dead ends or house hidden treasure, while others advance the story. Boss monsters also hang around certain areas as well, and they typically drop some useful materials. You can go back and fight through an area as many times as you like, since each movement on the board will lead you into a gauntlet of enemies to overcome, which is nice because combat is where Mobius Final Fantasy truly shines.
Cutting down hordes of monsters or not is up to you. But I'll make one thing clear. If you don't fight, you don't get loot. That's life in Palamecia.
Battles are exciting and quick, but they're still full of the strategy that Final Fantasy fans have come to expect over the years. As you perform normal attacks, you'll draw out elemental orbs. Almost every enemy you encounter deals elemental damage, and these orbs can be spent to buff up some extra protection from the elements, and influence the type of orbs you're more likely to draw next. You can also use these orbs to perform powerful abilities once you stockpile the amount the skill needs. You're not limited to just one action per turn, and while you may be able to use normal attacks to plow through some enemies, exploiting elemental weaknesses, buffing your own resistances, and using abilities to break an opponent will become standard strategies as you play.
Hurry this!
Breaking an opponent's defenses allows you to pummel them with attacks for increased damage and score a few free hits while they're down for the count. Part of the battle system in Mobius's appeal is turning the tide in battle with a break. You can only break an opponent down with normal attacks, but their defenses are tough and they won't weaken easily. By using abilities, however, you can soften that defense, allowing a standard attack to break the monster down quickly. After a few actions, the enemy recovers and the process starts again, but I really like this mechanic because it forces you to think about how you'll spend those elemental orbs as you collect them. Do you save a full amount before you break an enemy so you can score multiple hits on their weaknesses? Or do you take the time to heal and score a few quick free hits while the enemy is down? It's those small layers of strategy that I enjoy, and it can really turn the course of a battle, especially boss encounters, in your favor if you can utilize the advantage of a break well. Jobs also make their appearance in Mobius, and while not as robust in application as they may have been in the main series, they're still an important layer to the game's mechanics. There's plenty of different kinds of jobs in Mobius, but they're all grouped into 3 job types. You have your warriors, mages, and your rangers, each with their own set of weapons and abilities that work best for them. Abilities can be used by any job, but matching them with the correct job type will maximize their potency in battle. Each job type has a full list of vocations, and while you can use super rare summoning tickets to draw new jobs, you can also unlock what I like to call sub-jobs by completing a job skill panel. That's where you can spend skill seeds you earn from battles on stat upgrades, buffs, weapons, etc. You could think of the skill panel as a bit like the sphere grid from Final Fantasy X. The abilities you use in battle are depicted as cards, and can be earned from battle or from a menu shop in the game. Each ability goes into a deck. Each card also has a level, and while many cards will have the same ability, their inherent skills, such as their increased power or buffs when used, as well as their overall strength and how they'll affect your stats, may be different. The sum of each card's level in your deck will determine your current deck level, which is the most obvious indicator of strength in battle stats. Using a card's ability in battle enough will help unlock skills and bonuses for that card, and you can fuse these cards together to increase their power or level of skill. You can have multiple decks at a time, and cards can be used in as many decks as you like, so you can build decks with different jobs to suit any situation. When a card reaches its max level, you can augment them to increase their rarity, which raises the level cap. And after completing each chapter in the game's story, the level caps for cards raise as well. Fusing is essential when you get a new card you may want to use, since switching out a high-level card for a low-level one will vastly decrease your deck level, and therefore your overall battle prowess. There's also the free rental card you can borrow from other players of the game, which doesn't affect your deck level in any way, but is a great freebie to bring along for each battle. While unlocking a job via the skill panel can be a good way to enjoy that job's stat benefits, having that job as a main one gives you a brand new skill panel of its own with upgrades separate from those of another classes. Since summoning jobs can cost a lot of those rare summoning tickets, it is nice that you can unlock jobs via the skill panel within other jobs, because changing vocations will be an essential part of your strategy in certain battles. Not only do the different jobs make better use of different abilities, but they also influence the 3 elements that you can draw in battle. There will always be an element that you can't use, so it's important to scout an area that you'll travel to and prepare a deck of abilities with a job that will allow you to either resist the enemy's elements, exploit their weaknesses, or a little of both. All of these things together allow the player to tackle Mobius Final Fantasy in a few different ways. You can do pretty well by finding a set of 4 cards that you like and a decent job and pretty much stick with it as long as you like. Or you can mix it up easily with different cards and jobs if you need to. And if something doesn't work for you, you can easily slip back into whatever you like, no problem. As you progress through Mobius Final Fantasy, you'll encounter other characters, such as blanks that have given up on becoming the Warrior of Light and try to fill the void in their lives in service to the crown, weird adventurers and magical denizens of Palamecia, and others who guide us along our own path to fulfill the prophecy, such as Mog the Moogle, who checks the box for cute, yet a little too happy, sidekick.
You're gonna have so much fun together, like a big blank party. You'll see, I promise, Capel.
Color me unconvinced.
There's also Echo, the sassy guide fairy that you can dress up.
Lucky for you, I'm here to guide you.
Echo's a bit of a greedy little pixie, if we're being totally honest here. But she's a constant companion to the hero, who doesn't always appreciate her company.
I'd be angry if I were you.
Why? Aren't you using me just as much as anyone else?
I'm different. I do it because I love you.
Of course you do.
And if the reference to Final Fantasy II's Palamecian Empire weren't enough for you, there's also some throwbacks to the original NES game as well, such as the beautiful princess and her kingdom.
Presenting our beloved Princess Sarah.
If this kind soul vows to fight for the people of this world, then the royal line of Cornelia will do all in its power to aid him.
And probably my favorite of the bunch, the Lordless Knight who speaks in enigmas to us from time to time.
I am Garland. and my purpose is to temper any blank who shows promise as he walks the path you walk.
It also seems like he has a bit of a problem with the ladies.
Women are as foul a demon as any, and royal women are the foulest of all.
There's also Vox, but it's a little hard to say exactly what his intentions are.
It takes time to choose which blanks to speak to. As I said, you are constantly being tested. That is one of the laws here.
These characters make our trek through Mobius Final Fantasy a lot of fun. The cutscenes are impressive, and the voice acting of each character brings forth a lot of personality.
Warrior of light at your service, or the storms of war beckon me.
Something like that. Ooh, I could even come up with a nice pose for you to strike.
From back and forth exchanges on our goals.
And what's your role in all this? Does the prophecy mention you too?
No, I take no side here, neither good nor evil, and for that this world names me heretic.
To even Mog's blazing optimism.
But you're destined to be the warrior of light, Kupo. The more you sweat, the stronger you'll get.
While our hero is sometimes a few sandwiches away from a happy picnic,
What's a Kupo?
he did eventually grow on me too.
Hello to you too. And yes, she spoke through the crystal.
But it's the side cast that, at least so far, are the most interesting characters to me.
With great bravery shall the warrior of light's companion protect him. That's what the prophecy says, Kupo.
Shut up.
While Final Fantasy is typically pretty serious during its main story, Mobius allows its small band of characters to have a little fun with each other during their exchanges.
Of course it does, Kupo. Princess Sarah and the warrior of light are... Oh!
Well then.
Not every fool who learns the prophecy should tell it.
Overall, Mobius Final Fantasy is a very good game for mobile devices. The touch controls work really well, and it's a very nice game to look at. But even with a handful of graphic options to ensure it runs well on your phone, some of the textures and models will start to fall apart under close scrutiny. And while I've actually grown to like the portrait orientation of the game, it's certainly very easy to control that way, you can force the game into landscape on an Android phone. The music is also fantastic, with plenty of symphonic swells melding into more pounding, almost dance-like beats that really mesh well together. So even though Mobius Final Fantasy is a free-to-download game, that doesn't mean Square Enix doesn't want your money. The bonuses from spending real-world cash in the game are many, from summoning tickets to earn more job cards, ability tickets to spend on powerful new skills, materials to augment cards, Phoenix Downs in case you die, and even elixirs that restore your stamina that's spent when you traverse each space on the board. These are all purchased with Magicite, which you accumulate over the course of a day. Once you earn 100 Magicite, you stop earning any until you collect it. And unlike the Japanese version, Magicite is not a drop you can easily earn as you play, though some items like Phoenix Downs and elixirs are. Sure, you can earn many of the items you'd spend Magicite on from login bonuses or treasure chests, but that's a slow and rare process. Since you only earn 100 Magicite, let's say every 16 or so hours, it's a slog to save up all day and buy the good stuff. So the temptation to spend a lot of money on what really is a small amount of Magicite is always there. Do you need to spend any money to enjoy Mobius Final Fantasy? Absolutely not, but they constantly tempt you with gift boxes and all these rare materials that you could buy with Magicite, and the Magicite's only a credit card away. It's a shame alternative methods to earn these items are not as abundant as they might be in the Japanese version, but sad to say it's obviously something that works as a business model, or else these free-to-play mechanics wouldn't be as prevalent as they are. Mobius Final Fantasy is an ongoing release game, meaning new content comes out every now and then. New additions to the game include a multiplayer function, allowing you to create and join parties to fight large bosses and earn a lot of neat loot. The battles play very similarly to the single-player game, but require a lot more thought since you'll be teaming up with 3 other players in real time. There's also special events and exploration dungeons that add a significant amount of side content to the game, battle towers that increase in difficulty as you climb them, weekly rankings that give you a reason to try to get a better score in battle, all sorts of different stuff. But most of these are only available for a certain time, and I'm not sure if players new to the game will have a way to enjoy them once they're gone, let alone the loot and rewards within them. And that also means they're missing out on some fun moments with the characters that won't happen in the game's main story.
Just how long has it been since I've seen one of these?
Oh, I suppose your memory loss didn't affect chocobos.
Everyone knows chocobos.
The main story is also being rationed out over time, and while the side content is nice, you can complete the main story to this point relatively quickly. And though it started off with some cliche something or others, Mobius' tale starts to get exciting down the road. The journey of the Warrior of Light and the eventual fight with Chaos is going to be exciting, I know, but Square Enix has to keep the game fun and interesting with this side content to make sure players don't move on before they decide to release the next batch of the story.
Gods, what drama.
On a similar note to being an ongoing release game, Mobius is also an always online game, which means there's a lot of this. Square Enix recommends a Wi-Fi connection while you play, and aside from an initial large download when you first start the game, the packets of data the game fetches for battles, loot drops, and all that don't seem like much, but it will constantly add up, and failure to connect to the servers will render the game unplayable. While easy to play in short bursts on the go, those with limited data plans or dodgy connections will be unable to enjoy the game like one can many other mobile experiences. If the best place to play the game is at home where there's Wi-Fi, why not make it a PC or console game instead? If the quirks of microtransactions and the constant online stuff is a bother to you, or maybe you just want a traditional Final Fantasy experience on the go, Final Fantasy Dimensions may be your best bet, and that game does seem to be free now, so it's certainly worth checking out. But I do think Final Fantasy fans will enjoy Mobius Final Fantasy. There is a lot to do and plenty of customization to be had, and the battles are a lot of fun even if the monster variety is a little lacking in the areas we can currently explore. If Square Enix gives the global audience the same stuff they released in the Japanese version, we can expect a ton of content to keep players engaged and interested, but it does remain to be seen if that stuff's even going to come out over here. I've really enjoyed Mobius Final Fantasy so far. I've put a lot more time into it than I have its older 2D siblings, but when you complete everything, you'll find that farming skill seeds and experience will only entertain you for so long. So back to our beginning point. Is Mobius Final Fantasy a worthy entry into one of the best role-playing game series of all time? I think it is. The battles are fun, the game looks and sounds great, and despite a few complaints about it being always online and a staggered release, it does manage to keep you engaged pretty well. If you're a fan of the classic turn-based games, or even the modern action-packed Final Fantasy titles, I think you'll enjoy a trek through Palamecia on your own journey to become the Warrior of Light.